Welcome back to our journey through the Bible. Today's story is about a foreign widow who had every reason to believe her life was over, but God had other plans. Have you ever felt like your life was too ordinary, too small, too unimportant to matter? God doesn't just work through kings and prophets. He works through everyday people, showing everyday kindness in extraordinary ways. Our story begins not with triumph, but with tragedy. There was a man from Bethlehem named Elimelech, who lived during the time when judges ruled Israel, a dark and chaotic period in Israel's history. Famine struck the land. Elimelech made a decision. He would take his wife Naomi and their 2 sons, Mahlon and Chilion, and move to the country of Moab, where there was food. Moab was a pagan nation, a traditional enemy of Israel. The Moabites worshipped false gods. For an Israelite family, to move meant leaving behind the land God had promised them, leaving the community of faith and raising their children in a foreign culture. They went seeking survival. Shortly after they arrived in Moab, Elimelech died. Naomi was left a widow in a foreign land with 2 sons. The sons grew up and married Moabite women, one named Orpah and the other named Ruth. They all lived together as a family in Moab. Then tragedy struck again. Both of Naomi's sons died. She was a widow in a foreign country, with no means of support and no hope of continuing her family line. A woman's security came through the men in her family. Without a husband or sons, Naomi had nothing. She had heard that the Lord had visited his people in Judah and had given them food. The famine was over. Naomi decided to return home to Bethlehem. She set out on the journey with her 2 daughters-in-law. As they traveled, Naomi stopped and said, "Go, return to your mothers. May the Lord deal kindly with you, as you have dealt with the dead and with me. May the Lord grant each of you a house and a husband." They all wept. Orpah and Ruth said, "No, we will return with you to your people." Naomi insisted, "Turn back, my daughters. I have no more sons left for you to take as husbands," referring to an Israelite custom called levirate marriage. If a man died without children, his brother would marry the widow to continue the family line. But Naomi had no more sons. "Please turn back, my daughters. Go your way. I am too old to have a husband. I am too old to bear more children." Naomi felt that God himself had turned against her. She saw her life as a tragedy, her circumstances as evidence that the Lord had abandoned her. Then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye and turned back to Moab. She was going back to her people, her culture, her gods, her chance at a new life. But Ruth clung to Naomi. Naomi pleaded with Ruth to follow her sister-in-law. "Please return to your people." Ruth spoke beautiful words of loyalty and commitment. "Do not urge me to leave you or to stop from following you. For where you go, I will go, and where you lodge, I will lodge. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May only death part me from you." Ruth was choosing to leave everything, her homeland, her culture, her family, her gods, and any chance of remarrying among her own people. She was choosing to follow Naomi into an uncertain future, to embrace Naomi's people as her own, and to trust in Naomi's God, the God of Israel. This wasn't just loyalty to her mother-in-law. This was a radical act of faith. When Naomi saw that Ruth was determined to go with her, she said nothing more. The 2 women continued the journey together. When they arrived in Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred. Naomi? They barely recognized her. Please do not call me Naomi, which means pleasant. Call me Mara, which means bitter, for the Almighty has been bitter to me. I went away full, and the Lord has brought me back empty. Lord has testified against me, and the Almighty has brought calamity upon me. Naomi felt empty. She felt that God had taken everything from her. Naomi thought she had come back empty. She wasn't alone. Faithful, loyal Ruth was with her. And Ruth would prove to be worth more than 7 sons. They arrived at the beginning of the barley harvest. They were desperately poor, with no way to support themselves. God had made provision for people exactly like them. According to the law of Moses, when farmers harvested their fields, they were to leave the edges unharvested and not pick up any grain that fell. This was called gleaning. The poor and the foreigners could follow behind the harvesters and gather what was left. Ruth had said, "Let me go to the field and glean among the ears of grain." So Ruth went out and began gleaning in the fields. She happened to come to the part of the field belonging to Boaz, who was of the clan of Elimelech. What looked like chance was actually divine providence. God guided Ruth's steps to exactly the right field. Boaz was a wealthy and influential man, and he was also a relative of Naomi's deceased husband. When Boaz came to check on his harvest, he noticed Ruth immediately. Ruth's reputation had preceded her. Everyone in Bethlehem had heard about the Moabite woman who had shown such extraordinary loyalty to Naomi. Boaz went to Ruth and said, "Now listen, my daughter, do not go to glean in another field or leave this one. Keep close to my young women. Notice the field that they are reaping and go after them. It will be safer for you. Also, when you are thirsty, go to the vessels and drink what the young men have drawn." Ruth knelt down, bowing to the ground, and said, "Why have I found favor in your eyes, that you should take notice of me, since I am a foreigner? For all that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband has been told to me. How you left your father, mother, and your native land, and came to a people that you did not know." Boaz recognized Ruth's faith. He invited Ruth to eat with him and his workers. He gave her roasted grain, and she ate until she was satisfied and had some left over. When she got up to glean again, Boaz quietly instructed his young men, "Allow her to glean among the sheaves. Let her take all she can carry." She worked well into the evening. She gleaned far more than ever before. When she beat out what she had, it weighed about 13 kilos. When Naomi saw how much Ruth had brought home, she asked, "Where did you glean all this grain?" Ruth told her, "The man's name with whom I work today is Boaz." And Naomi said, "May he be blessed by the Lord, whose kindness has not forsaken the living or the dead." Then Naomi explained, "The man is a close relative of ours, one of our redeemers." A redeemer, a kinsman redeemer, was a close relative who had the right and responsibility to buy back property, to maintain the family line, to protect and provide for family members in need. And Boaz was one of those relatives. Suddenly, there was hope, the possibility of a future. Ruth continued to glean in Boaz's fields, through both the barley and wheat harvests. As time passed, Naomi began to think about Ruth's future. "My dear Ruth, you take such good care of me. I should find you a husband, someone to care and protect you for a restful future." Naomi instructed Ruth to wash, anoint herself, put on her best clothes, go down to the threshing floor where Boaz would be working late into the night. After he had finished eating and drinking and lay down to sleep. Ruth was to uncover his feet and lie down there. It was a symbolic act, essentially a proposal. Ruth was asking Boaz to look over her, to become her protector, her provider, her redeemer. Ruth did exactly as Naomi instructed. In the middle of the night, Boaz woke up, startled to find a woman lying at his feet. "Who are you?" "I am Ruth, a partner, your servant, for you are a redeemer." Boaz was moved. "May you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. You have made this kindness greater than the first, in that you have not gone after young men, whether poor or rich. Do not fear. I will do all that you ask. All the townsmen know that you are a worthy woman." However, Boaz explained there was one complication. There was another relative who was a closer redeemer, and Boaz promised to settle the matter. According to the law, that man had the first right to redeem. Boaz went to the city gate, that is where legal matters were handled, and waited for the other relative. When the man appeared, Boaz called him over and assembled 10 elders as witnesses. He explained that Naomi was selling a piece of land that belonged to Elimelech, and this man had the first opportunity to redeem it. "If you do not wish to, then I shall." The man said, "I will redeem it. With the purchase of Naomi's field of land, you will also acquire Ruth, the widow of her deceased son, in order to perpetuate the family name of his inheritance." At this, the man backed out. "By doing so, I would impair my own inheritance. Please take my right of redemption yourself, for I cannot." Boaz officially acquired the right to redeem the land and to marry Ruth. The elders and all the people at the gate witnessed it and blessed them. "May the Lord bless your home, and may you and Ruth bring prosperity into the house of Israel." Boaz took Ruth as his wife. The Lord gave her conception, and she bore a son. The women of Bethlehem said to Naomi, "Blessed be the Lord, who has not left you this day without a redeemer, and may his name be renowned in Israel. He shall be to you a restorer of life and a nourisher of your old age. For your daughter-in-law who loves you, who is more to you than 7 sons, has given birth to him." Naomi took the child and became his nurse. The women of the neighborhood gave him a name, saying, "A son has been born to Naomi." They named him Obed. The story connects to something much bigger. Obed became the father of Jesse, and Jesse became the father of David. King David, Israel's greatest king, the man after God's own heart. Centuries later, from David's line would come Jesus, the ultimate redeemer, who would spread his wings over all who come to him for refuge. God works through ordinary faithfulness. Ruth wasn't a prophet or a princess. She was a foreign widow who showed loyalty to her mother-in-law and worked hard in the fields. God used her faithfulness in profound ways. God sees the small acts of kindness that others overlook. Ruth's loyalty to Naomi, Boaz's generosity to Ruth, Ruth's hard work in the fields. These everyday acts of kindness became the building blocks of God's bigger plan. God can take our most bitter moments and turn them into something beautiful. Naomi felt God had abandoned her. Her emptiness became fullness. Her bitterness became sweetness. Ruth was a Moabite, a foreigner, a pagan convert, someone who felt she didn't belong. God brought her into the family line of David and Jesus. God's grace extends beyond boundaries we create. Jesus, our ultimate kinsman redeemer. Just as Boaz redeemed Ruth, buying back what was lost and giving her a new future, Jesus redeems us. He paid the price for our sin. He restores what is broken and gives us hope of a future. Your life might feel small. Your acts of kindness might seem insignificant. Your circumstances might feel bitter. God is at work in ways you cannot see, weaving your faithfulness into His bigger story. Keep being loyal. Keep being kind. Keep trusting God. You are part of a much bigger story He is writing. If you made it to the end of my story, thank you for watching. See you next time.